Putin's nuclear saber-rattling is very much in line with this assessment. Putin's public announcement that he ordered Russia's strategic nuclear forces to go on special alert in response to aggressive statements from NATO leaders was extremely unusual. We have not seen a public announcement from the Russians regarding a heightened nuclear alert status since the 1960s, but we have also not observed force-wide nuclear posture changes that go beyond what we have seen in prior moments of heightened tensions during the last few decades. Our analysts assess that Putin's current posturing in this arena is probably intended to deter the West from providing additional support to Ukraine as he weighs an escalation of the conflict. And Putin probably still remains confident that Russia can militarily defeat Ukraine and wants to prevent Western support from tipping the balance and forcing a conflict with NATO.
President Putin has worked methodically over the last 2 decades to turn Russian society into a kind of propaganda bubble. I mean, he's used financial pressures, he's used lethal actions. I remember vividly when I was ambassador in Russia, some years ago, going to the funeral of a very courageous independent Russian journalist named Anna Politkovskaya in the fall of 2006. And that's just one part of the pressure that he's brought against open information in Russia. He's intensified his domination of the state-run media and in his strangulation of independent media, especially in recent years, and particularly since the invasion of Ukraine began. But I guess the last thing I'd say is I don't believe that he's going to be able to seal Russians off entirely from the truth.
We all read about the Russian Defense Ministry publicly accusing Ukraine of possibly planning a false flag chemical weapon attack. What do you make of that? Does that signal that Putin intends to launch a chemical or biological weapon attack on the Ukrainians?
Well, thanks very much, Senator. I mean, I think it underscores the concern that all of us need to focus on those kind of issues, whether it's the potential for a use of chemical weapons either as a false flag operation or against Ukrainians. This is something, as all of you know very well, is very much a part of Russia's playbook. They've used those weapons against their own citizens. They've at least encouraged the use in Syria and elsewhere. So it's something we take very seriously. And it's one of the reasons, as Director Haynes said earlier, that I'm convinced that our efforts at selective declassification to preempt those kind of false flag efforts and the creation of false narratives have been so important.
I think the top line takeaway is that the Russians' ability to circumvent the sanctions with cryptocurrency is probably highly overestimated on the part of maybe them and others. We are, as a community and with our partners overseas, far more effective on that than I think sometimes they appreciate. And there's a lot of expertise in terms of tools and strategies to help block that kind of effort. Ultimately, what they really need to do is get access to some form of fiat currency.
We expected President Putin anticipated to some extent what the sanctions would be and how we would approach this, given our past practice in these areas. He built up a reserve fund that was really intended to help him defend his currency in the context of sanctions. But through the actions of our Treasury Department and others in Europe and the West, what they've done is actually make it very hard for him to access that money in order to defend his currency, and we've seen it in free fall. I mean, I believe it's lost about 40% of its value.
I think among the many profoundly flawed assumptions that President Putin made in launching this invasion was his assumption that he had built a sanctions-proof economy, that by building, as Director Haynes said, a very large war chest of foreign currency reserves and gold reserves, and by not anticipating there'd be sanctions against the Russian central bank, by not anticipating that the German leadership would show such resolve in particular, I think he deeply underestimated the economic consequences, and I think they're just now being felt in Russia, and it's going to intensify.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.